Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to stand before you today, representing a pivotal moment in the financial and geopolitical landscape of Africa. The world is watching, and it is clear that the future of global finance is being reshaped, with Africa at the very heart of these changes. Our continent has long been caught in the shadow of external influences, but today we are charting a course towards financial independence, aiming to replace the reliance on the US dollar with a payment system tailored for Africa's unique needs. The global financial system has been dominated by the West for centuries, with the US dollar as the linchpin. However, as we move into a new era, we must recognize that the world's economic future cannot be solely dictated by a single currency or a system that does not serve the diverse needs of every continent, especially Africa. The time has come for Africa to build its own path, for Africa to lead its own financial future. We are witnessing the rise of new international payment systems, such as China's, which has introduced an alternative to SWIFT system. China's international payment system is rapidly becoming an essential part of the global infrastructure. In many ways, this new system is the first step in creating a multipolar financial world, where no single country or currency dominates the global landscape. And it is not just China that is taking bold steps. Egypt has struck a new currency deal with China, signaling a strong shift in regional alliances, as they too seek to free themselves from the constraints of the US dollar. Africa has its own set of challenges. The continent has faced persistent currency problems, and many nations have struggled with hyperinflation, devaluation, and exchange rate volatility. These issues are often exacerbated by the existing global financial system that is too rigid, too slow, and in some cases too exclusionary. The old payment systems like SWIFT have served their time, but they are not built to meet the needs of emerging economies, especially those in Africa. In response to these challenges, China has introduced a cross-border payment system, a system that offers greater flexibility, faster transactions, and more accessible financial services. This initiative represents an opportunity for Africa to embrace technology that can drive economic growth, create jobs, and empower our people to engage in global trade on our own terms. It is no secret that the BRICS alliance, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is playing an increasingly important role in the future of global banking. The BRICS nations have made it clear that they are committed to reshaping the financial system. They have recognized the flaws in the current order and have made substantial progress in creating alternatives. This new wave of collaboration will not only change banking, it will change the way the world looks at financial power. As a member of this alliance, Africa is positioning itself to leverage this shift and to demand a fairer, more equitable financial system. Our partnerships with countries like China, Egypt, Angola, and many others are not simply about economic exchange. They are about building a future where Africa is no longer on the periphery of global finance, but is at the center of it. These deals are not about dependency. They are about sovereignty. Africa is taking charge of its economic destiny, and we are doing so with a clear vision of the future. The United States, once a dominant force in Africa, seems to be stepping back. Over the years, we've seen a shift in how the US engages with our continent. The focus has largely been on military and diplomatic interests, rather than fostering genuine economic partnership. It is clear that for the US, Africa is no longer a priority. But in this, there lies opportunity. As the US pulls away, Africa has the chance to step forward, to engage more deeply with partners who share our aspirations for growth, independence, and prosperity. We will no longer be waiting for permission to lead our own future. China, on the other hand, has demonstrated a commitment to Africa's future. Their investments, their partnerships, and their belief in Africa's potential are evident in everything they do. China is not just investing in Africa's infrastructure. They are investing in Africa's people, in our youth, in our entrepreneurs, and in the dream of a prosperous future for all. This partnership represents more than just economic ties. It is a partnership rooted in mutual respect, mutual growth, and a shared vision for the future. And that brings me to the heart of our mission today. Africa is the future. We have the resources, the creativity, the potential, and the determination to reshape the world's financial order. We are no longer content with being passive participants in the global economy. We are here to build a new world, one where Africa is at the forefront, where we are no longer dictated to, but where we are the ones leading the charge. Africa's time is now. The financial systems of the past are no longer sufficient for the realities of the 21st century. It is time to create something new, something that reflects the spirit of this continent, a spirit of innovation, of resilience, and of hope. Together, we will rise. Together, we will build a future where Africa is a leader, not just in terms of resources, but in terms of economic power, influence, and sovereignty. Ladies and gentlemen, as we stand at the threshold of a new era in global finance, it's crucial to understand the significance of the step we've taken with Ibrahim Traoré's new international payment system. This innovative initiative aims to challenge the current financial paradigm, which has long been dominated by traditional Western powers, particularly through systems like SWIFT and the US dollar. For decades, Africa and many emerging economies have been trapped in a cycle where international trade, investment, and even day-to-day transactions have been deeply reliant on foreign financial systems. These systems, while effective in their own right, have often failed to cater to the unique needs of our nations. They have been slow, expensive, and inefficient, with high transaction fees and long processing times. More critically, they have placed undue control in the hands of external powers, limiting Africa's economic sovereignty. Our vision with this new payment system is clear: to break free from these constraints and build a system that serves Africa's interests and future. The heart of this initiative lies in creating a seamless, efficient, and secure way for African nations to conduct trade and financial exchanges within the continent and globally. This payment system is designed to be faster, cheaper, and more transparent, leveraging cutting-edge technology such as blockchain to ensure that transactions are completed in real time, with minimal cost and maximal security. But it's not just about speed or convenience, it's about sovereignty. For too long, African countries have had to rely on the whims of international financial institutions and intermediaries to move money across borders. This system takes control back into our hands, ensuring that we can decide how and when to move capital without the need for third-party approval or interference. Moreover, this initiative ties into the broader goal of enhancing intra-African trade and economic integration. By using a system tailored to our realities, we enable our businesses, entrepreneurs, and governments to operate more efficiently, creating new opportunities for growth and cooperation. No longer will Africa be a passive participant in the global financial system. This system allows us to set the terms of engagement. The role of Africa in the global economy is evolving, and with this new payment system, we are positioning ourselves at the forefront of that change. This is not just a financial tool. It is a statement of Africa's intent to shape its own future, free from external dependency and limitation. The future is ours to create. And with this step, we are not just participating in the global economy, we are shaping it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is undeniable that the relationship between the United States and Africa has been complex, shaped by historical, political, and economic factors. Under the leadership of former President Donald Trump, this relationship became increasingly evident in its neglect. Trump's lack of interest in Africa was not simply an oversight or a diplomatic misstep. It was a reflection of a broader, more concerning trend: the disregard for Africa's importance on the global stage. From the very beginning of his presidency, Trump's policies towards Africa were marked by indifference. His administration failed to engage meaningfully with African nations, focusing instead on issues that were far removed from the continent's needs and aspirations. There was little effort to foster economic partnerships, support development initiatives, or build strong diplomatic ties. Instead, we witnessed an absence of strategic vision, with policies often driven by short-term political gains rather than a long-term commitment to Africa's growth. One of the most glaring examples of this neglect was Trump's decision to reduce funding to vital programs aimed at addressing Africa's health, education, and infrastructure needs. His administration also took steps to cut back on foreign aid to the continent, leaving many African countries without the support they need to tackle critical issues such as poverty, disease, and unemployment. Furthermore, Trump's rhetoric was often dismissive and condescending. His infamous remarks about African nations, calling them shithole countries, not only undermined the dignity of African people, but also reflected a broader attitude of disdain. These comments were a stark reminder that for some global powers, Africa remains an afterthought, an overlooked and undervalued partner in the international community. In contrast, Africa has made remarkable strides in recent years. Our continent is home to some of the world's fastest-growing economies, a young and dynamic population, and immense natural resources. Yet, under Trump's leadership, the United States failed to recognize the opportunities and potential that Africa presents. While America pulled away, other nations, particularly China, saw the potential in Africa and moved to strengthen their ties with our continent, understanding the role we are poised to play in shaping the future of the global economy. As a result, Africa is no longer waiting for the US or any other power to dictate our future. The shift away from American dominance is not a rejection, but a realization that Africa must lead its own charge. With the rise of new financial systems, new trade agreements, and new partnerships, Africa is not just an observer in the global economy. We are becoming the architects of our own future. Trump may not have cared about Africa, but Africa is moving forward regardless. The future is in our hands, and we will build the partnerships and infrastructure we need to thrive on our own terms. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to announce a transformative development in Africa's economic landscape, a strategic new currency deal with Egypt that marks a significant step in our pursuit of financial sovereignty. This partnership is not just about economic exchange, it is about creating a new foundation for African unity, prosperity, and independence. As we move forward, this agreement with Egypt will serve as a beacon for the entire continent, showcasing what is possible when African nations come together with a shared vision for the future. For far too long, Africa has relied on external currencies to facilitate trade and investment. The US dollar and the euro have dominated, often dictating the terms of economic interactions. But with this new currency deal, we are paving the way for a future where African currencies are at the center of our transactions. This agreement with Egypt establishes a mutual understanding that will enable us to bypass traditional international financial systems like SWIFT and engage directly in trade using a currency that reflects our collective economic interest. The deal represents not just an economic transaction, but a symbol of Africa's growing power in global finance. By working closely with Egypt, a country that shares many of our goals and challenges, we are reinforcing the idea that Africa is no longer a passive player in the global economic system. Together, we are actively reshaping the rules of engagement. This agreement lays the groundwork for a new way of conducting business that will drive regional integration, stimulate intra-African trade, and enhance the overall economic resilience of our continent. This currency deal is also significant because it serves as a response to the volatility and unpredictability of foreign currencies. Many African nations have struggled with the effects of exchange rate fluctuations, inflation, and devaluation. With this new arrangement, we can mitigate some of these challenges by using a currency that is better aligned with our economic realities. It will reduce reliance on external financial systems and provide more stability for businesses and governments alike. Furthermore, the partnership between Egypt and myself is a clear message to the world that Africa is a continent on the rise, no longer waiting for permission to lead, but taking bold steps to secure its place in the global economy. With Egypt's strategic position in Africa and its strong financial sector, this deal represents the kind of cross-continental collaboration we need to foster in order to create sustainable growth and long-term stability for the entire African continent. Through this agreement, we are not just building stronger ties between Egypt and myself, we are strengthening the foundations for a future where Africa controls its own economic destiny. As we move forward with this new currency deal, it is a reminder that Africa's time has come, and we are no longer on the sidelines of global finance, we are leading the charge. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa's currency problems are not just a matter of numbers. They are deeply intertwined with the continent's broader struggles for economic independence and stability. Over the years, Africa has faced a series of challenges when it comes to its currencies, which have had far-reaching consequences for trade, investment, and overall economic development. It is essential that we understand these problems if we are to chart a path toward a more prosperous and self-sustaining Africa. One of the primary challenges Africa faces is the volatility of many of its currencies. Across the continent, currencies like the Nigerian naira, the Zimbabwean dollar, and the South African rand have fluctuated wildly in value. This instability often stems from external factors such as global commodity price shifts, political instability, and dependence on foreign currencies. The result is an unpredictable environment for businesses and consumers alike. Currency devaluation can lead to soaring inflation, which erodes purchasing power and makes it difficult for citizens to afford even the basic necessities of life. Another significant issue is the widespread use of foreign currencies in African countries. Many African nations, especially those with weaker economies, rely heavily on the US dollar or the euro for trade, investment, and saving. This practice, while offering short-term stability, undermines the value of local currencies and limits national sovereignty over monetary policy. When a country's economy is tied to foreign currencies, it becomes subject to the economic policies of other nations, which can often be misaligned with the specific needs of African nations. The use of foreign currencies also means that countries lose the ability to control their own inflation rates and interest rates, key levers that are vital for fostering economic growth. In addition to currency volatility and dependency, there is the issue of limited access to financial infrastructure. In many African countries, banking systems are not as developed as in other parts of the world, which makes it difficult for people to engage in efficient and transparent financial transactions. High transaction costs, long wait times, and the lack of access to financial products and services prevent many Africans from fully participating in the global economy. The absence of a robust financial system stifles entrepreneurship and innovation, hindering Africa's potential for economic growth. The high costs of cross-border payments are also a major hurdle. Africa has one of the most expensive remittance markets in the world. Sending money across borders within Africa can often cost more than sending money from the continent to Europe or the US. These high fees burden migrant workers and businesses, further deepening the economic divide. To address these issues, it is imperative that Africa takes bold collective action. The creation of a unified, stable, and reliable African currency system would allow countries to bypass the obstacles created by foreign dependency. We must also invest in developing more efficient financial infrastructure, making banking services accessible to more Africans, and reducing the costs associated with cross-border transactions. By working together, we can solve Africa's currency problems and unlock the full potential of our continent's economy. We are no longer content with simply managing these challenges. We are taking action. By embracing new financial systems, supporting the growth of African currencies, and fostering deeper regional integration, we will move closer to a future where Africa controls its own economic destiny. This is our time to rise, and together we will build a stronger, more resilient Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, the SWIFT system, which has long been the backbone of international financial transactions, has served its purpose in connecting the world's financial institutions. But as we look ahead to the future, it has become clear that SWIFT is not without its shortcomings, especially for Africa. While SWIFT was designed to facilitate cross-border payments, it has inadvertently created several barriers that hinder the growth and financial autonomy of African nations. Understanding these issues is crucial if we are to forge a path toward a more independent and prosperous Africa. First and foremost, the primary issue with SWIFT lies in its inefficiency and high costs. Transactions between African countries or between Africa and other regions are often subject to lengthy delays and steep fees due to the reliance on multiple intermediaries. SWIFT's centralized system requires payments to go through clearinghouses and intermediary banks, which not only adds to the time it takes to process a transaction, but also inflates the cost for businesses and consumers. In some cases, these costs can be as high as 10% of the transaction value, which is simply untenable for many African countries. This inefficiency exacerbates the challenges of intra-African trade, which remains disproportionately low compared to other regions. For example, while Europe and Asia have robust trading systems that facilitate rapid and inexpensive transactions, Africa continues to face hurdles due to the reliance on outdated financial infrastructure. The high costs and delays created by SWIFT are a major obstacle for small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, that play a crucial role in driving economic growth. As these businesses struggle to make cross-border payments, their ability to compete on the global stage is significantly hindered. Another serious problem with SWIFT is its vulnerability to political interference and the geopolitical tensions that often shape the global financial system. The SWIFT system, while neutral in theory, is controlled by a small group of Western nations, which means that it is susceptible to sanctions and other political pressures. We've seen this firsthand with instances where countries in Africa and other parts of the world have been excluded from the SWIFT network due to international sanction. This leaves nations vulnerable to economic isolation and limits their ability to engage in global trade and financial transactions. Moreover, SWIFT's outdated architecture means that it is not well equipped to handle the demands of the modern digital economy. As Africa moves toward greater technological integration, particularly through mobile banking and blockchain-based systems, SWIFT's centralized paper-based processes are ill-suited to the fast-paced real-time transactions required in today's global economy. In Africa, where mobile banking is experiencing rapid growth and financial inclusion is becoming more widespread, a faster, more flexible system is needed. This is where the opportunity lies. Africa needs a payment system that is faster, cheaper, and more secure. The financial tools we build must be tailored to our continent's unique needs, and they must be based on technology that offers real-time transactions with lower fees. By creating alternatives to SWIFT, such as using blockchain technology or developing our own cross-border payment platforms, Africa can free itself from the limitations imposed by outdated systems. We cannot afford to remain dependent on a system that was not designed with Africa in mind. We must prioritize the creation of a decentralized, secure, and affordable financial infrastructure that empowers African nations to trade, invest, and grow on their own terms. The world is evolving, and Africa must evolve with it. Our future cannot be dictated by external powers or outdated financial systems. It is time to take control. And with the strength and unity of the African people, we will build a financial future that reflects our collective aspirations. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am excited to introduce one of the most critical steps towards Africa's financial independence, Ibrahim Traoré's cross-border payment system. This system is not just a technological innovation, it is a direct response to the challenges we face in conducting seamless and efficient financial transactions across our continent. As Africa moves towards greater economic integration and growth, it is clear that we need a payment system that serves our unique needs and reflects our aspirations. One of the major barriers to trade and economic growth within Africa has been the high costs and inefficiencies associated with cross-border payments. Historically, African countries have relied on outdated, expensive, and slow systems to move money across borders. These payment systems, often controlled by foreign entities, have imposed high transaction fees, lengthy processing times, and unnecessary middlemen. Small businesses, entrepreneurs, and even large corporations have struggled to make timely payments or receive funds efficiently, hindering intra-Africa trade, regional cooperation, and investment. Ibrahim Traoré's cross-border payment system is designed to address these issues head-on. With this system, we can ensure that payments are processed in real time at a fraction of the cost of traditional systems. By utilizing advanced technologies such as blockchain and digital currencies, we can eliminate intermediaries, significantly reduce fees, and ensure that transactions are secure and transparent. No longer will African businesses, governments, or individuals be at the mercy of slow, inefficient financial networks that delay growth and economic opportunity. This system not only enables faster and cheaper transactions, it empowers African countries to regain control over their own financial ecosystems. Currently, much of Africa's cross-border trade is facilitated through foreign currencies, particularly the US dollar, which ties our economies to external monetary policies that may not reflect our realities. With Ibrahim Traoré's cross-border payment system, we aim to utilize African currencies in regional transactions, further strengthening our economic sovereignty. This will not only help stabilize our own currencies, but also promote greater confidence in our financial markets. Moreover, this system encourages regional collaboration. The African Continental Free Trade Area (AfCFTA) aims to boost intra-Africa trade by reducing tariffs and increasing cooperation between African nations. Ibrahim Traoré's cross-border payment system will be an essential tool in realizing this vision, making it easier for businesses across the continent to trade with each other without being bogged down by the complexities and costs of traditional financial systems. This will promote local businesses, enhance access to global markets, and foster greater economic interdependence. For too long, Africa has been dependent on the infrastructure and financial systems of external powers. But this payment system is a clear statement that we are building our own financial future, one that is independent, efficient, and reflective of our collective goals. As we work to implement this cross-border payment system, we are also laying the groundwork for more profound economic integration, not just within Africa, but with the rest of the world. This system will create more opportunities for entrepreneurship, drive investment to key sectors, such as agriculture, technology, and infrastructure, and most importantly, empower African citizens to participate in the global economy on their own terms. By connecting African nations in a seamless and cost-effective manner, we are making it possible for our people to realize their potential and secure their future. This is the beginning of a new chapter for Africa, one where we no longer rely on outdated systems, where our people and businesses are not held back by inefficient financial infrastructure. The future of finance in Africa is here, and with Ibrahim Traoré's cross-border payment system, we are not just transforming the way we pay and trade, we are transforming Africa's place in the global economy. Ladies and gentlemen, BRICS, an alliance of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has long been a powerful force on the global stage. But in recent years, BRICS has evolved into something far more significant than just a political and economic bloc. It represents a fundamental shift in the way the world will approach banking, finance, and global trade. The reality is that BRICS is poised to change the banking system in ways that will directly benefit Africa and reshape the global economic order. For too long, the international banking system has been controlled by Western institutions and currencies, particularly the US dollar and the euro. These systems, while integral to global trade, have left many countries, especially in the global south, vulnerable to the whims of foreign policies, economic sanctions, and trade imbalances. The traditional financial system has imposed its rules, making it difficult for many emerging economies to operate on equal footing. BRICS has recognized this imbalance and is actively working to dismantle the outdated financial structures that have disproportionately benefited a few while marginalizing the majority. The creation of the new development bank, NDB, and the contingent reserve arrangements, CRA, is an important step in this direction. These initiatives provide an alternative source of financing for development projects, trade and infrastructure investments in BRICS member countries and other emerging economies, without being subject to the restrictive conditions often imposed by Western financial institutions like the IMF and World Bank. But BRICS' impact on banking doesn't end there. One of the most profound changes will come from the increasing use of local currencies in trade and investment between member countries. For years, BRICS nations have been locked into using the US dollar as the intermediary currency for trade between them. But in recent years, we've seen a strong push towards using our own currencies for transactions, reducing dependence on the dollar and promoting greater currency stability and independence. This shift is especially important for Africa, with our own local currencies often devalued and subject to foreign influence. The ability to trade and settle transactions within BRICS countries using African currencies will significantly improve Africa's economic autonomy. No longer will we be reliant on the fluctuations of the US dollar, which has often been a source of instability. Instead, we will create a new financial order that allows us to engage in trade and investment on our own terms. Additionally, BRICS is working to create a new global payment system, one that bypasses the SWIFT system, a system that has long been a chokehold on African nations and developing economies. By establishing alternative payment channels, BRICS will empower countries to trade more freely, without the constraints and costs imposed by existing financial institutions. This will revolutionize cross-border payments, making transactions faster, cheaper, and more secure. For Africa, this is especially significant, as it opens up new opportunities for businesses and governments to transact with BRICS countries and beyond, without the need for external intermediaries. What excites me most about BRICS' potential to change banking is the focus on inclusivity. BRICS isn't just about the 5 member countries. It is about extending the benefits of a new, fairer financial system to the entire global South. This is a vision that aligns perfectly with Africa's goals of economic integration and empowerment. By expanding access to financial services, promoting digital currencies, and ensuring that developing nations have a voice in shaping the future of global banking, BRICS is providing the foundation for a new era of financial equality. In Africa, we are already witnessing the effects of this shift. African nations are increasingly looking to BRICS as a partner, not just for trade, but for investment, development, and financial cooperation. This alliance offers us the chance to reduce our dependence on foreign powers, strengthen our economies, and build a financial system that reflects the realities of our people. BRICS will undoubtedly change banking as we know it. It will create a financial system that is more democratic, more inclusive, and more tailored to the needs of emerging economies like ours. Africa's future in this new financial world is bright, and we stand ready to embrace the opportunities that BRICS offers in reshaping the global banking system. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am pleased to share with you an important milestone in Africa's journey toward economic transformation: Ibrahim Traoré's new deal with Angola. This agreement signifies much more than a bilateral deal. It marks a powerful step toward regional collaboration, economic empowerment, and the creation of sustainable opportunities for both nations and the African continent as a whole. Angola, one of Africa's most resource-rich countries, is a key player in the continent's economic landscape. It boasts vast reserves of oil, gas, minerals, and a rapidly growing population. But for too long, the potential of Angola and its people has been held back by inefficient systems, external dependency, and financial instability. With this new deal, we aim to shift Angola's economic trajectory, empowering the country to take control of its resources and build a prosperous, diversified economy. The core of the agreement revolves around mutual investments in strategic sectors that are crucial for Angola's long-term growth: energy, infrastructure, agriculture, and technology. By focusing on these sectors, we are not only addressing Angola's immediate needs, but also laying the foundation for a resilient economy that can withstand global fluctuations in commodity prices. This deal also involves the establishment of joint ventures and partnerships with African and international investors, bringing new capital, expertise, and technologies into Angola's economy. At the heart of this deal is a focus on infrastructure development. Angola has long faced challenges in terms of infrastructure: roads, ports, electricity grids, and digital connectivity. With our partnership, we will work to develop these key areas, ensuring that Angola is equipped with the infrastructure necessary for its people to thrive and for businesses to operate efficiently. By investing in modern transport systems, energy solutions, and telecommunications networks, we will unlock Angola's full potential and create a conducive environment for trade and investment, not just within Angola, but across the entire Southern African region. Another crucial component of the deal is the promotion of agricultural development. Africa is blessed with vast arable land, but much of it remains underutilized. By focusing on sustainable agricultural practices and investing in modern farming techniques, we aim to enhance Angola's food security, reduce reliance on imports, and promote export-oriented agricultural growth. This will create new job opportunities for Angolans, improve rural livelihoods, and reduce poverty. Moreover, it will foster regional food trade and contribute to the broader goals of the African Union's Agenda 2063, which calls for intra-Africa trade and sustainable development. Technology and innovation also play a pivotal role in this new deal. In the digital age, technology is the key to driving economic transformation, and Angola has the potential to leapfrog many stages of industrialization by embracing digital solutions. We will work to establish tech hubs and innovation centers in Angola, nurturing a new generation of entrepreneurs, engineers, and innovators who can propel the country into the global digital economy. Through this partnership, Angola will not only become a powerhouse of energy and natural resources, but also a hub for technological innovation in Africa. But perhaps most importantly, this deal is a symbol of Africa's growing unity and collaboration. Angola's success is Africa's success, and Ibrahim Traoré's commitment to this partnership signifies the shift in our collective approach to economic growth. No longer are we looking outward for solutions, we are looking inward to build the Africa we want to see. This deal embodies the spirit of self-reliance, mutual benefit, and a shared vision for a prosperous future. Angola's relationship with Africa is evolving, and this deal signals a new chapter of deepened cooperation and shared success. Together, we are not just addressing the immediate economic needs of Angola, we are setting the stage for a broader, more inclusive economic revolution across the African continent. This partnership is a model for what Africa can achieve when we unite our resources, leverage our collective strengths, and forge new paths for growth. Ladies and gentlemen, today, we find ourselves standing at a crucial crossroads in the history of Africa. As global dynamics shift and the geopolitical landscape evolves, Africa faces an unparalleled opportunity to redefine its place in the world. Yet, as we step into this new era, we must also confront uncomfortable truths about the forces that have shaped our history and our present. One of these truths is the growing disengagement of the United States from Africa and what it means for our future as a continent. For many years, the United States has been seen as a key partner for Africa, providing aid, support, and investment across various sectors. However, in recent years, it has become increasingly clear that the US is pulling away from Africa, shifting its focus to other parts of the world. This shift is not just a passing trend, but part of a larger, more concerning pattern of diminishing interest in Africa's potential. The reasons for this withdrawal are manifold. The US, particularly under the leadership of former President Donald Trump, began to prioritize domestic issues over international engagement, and Africa became one of the regions left behind. Trump's rhetoric and policies were largely focused on protectionism, and his administration made significant cuts to foreign aid programs aimed at African nations. His infamous comments about African countries, calling them shithole countries, underscored a deeper disregard for the continent's development and contribution. This attitude unfortunately permeated much of US foreign policy, neglecting the vital role Africa was and is poised to play in the 20th. Furthermore, the US's foreign policy has increasingly been shaped by a zero-sum approach to global geopolitics. As competition with China and Russia has intensified, Africa, once a focal point for US influence, has been sidelined in favor of more strategic alliances. The US has instead poured resources into regions it perceives as more strategically important, like the Middle East and the Asia-Pacific. This shift is not just about politics, it's about economics. Africa, with its growing young population, vast resources, and increasing economic influence, offers tremendous opportunities. Yet the US has failed to recognize this potential fully, opting instead to focus on issues that often do not align with Africa's priority. At the same time, other global powers, especially China, have stepped into this vacuum, increasing their engagement with Africa on a scale that the US cannot ignore. China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, which includes massive infrastructure investments across Africa, is reshaping the continent's physical and economic landscape. While some may criticize this shift towards Chinese influence, the reality is that Africa needs development, and if the US is unwilling to lead, other nations will step in. What Africa requires is not mere patronage or hollow promises, but concrete, mutually beneficial partnerships that allow us to control our own economic future. In this context, the question becomes, if the US is pulling away from Africa, where does that leave us? The answer is clear: Africa must take charge of its own destiny. And in this new era of African self-reliance, Ibrahim Traoré is Africa's future. For decades, Africa has been treated as an afterthought, a passive player in the global economic system. Yet, it is becoming increasingly clear that we are no longer waiting for permission to succeed. Our future is in our hands, and we must build it ourselves. We cannot afford to remain dependent on foreign powers, whether it is the US, China, or any other nation, to determine our fate. It is time for Africa to define its own path, one that is built on the strength of our people, our resources, and our unity. As I stand before you, I am committed to leading this charge. I firmly believe that Africa's future lies not in the hands of external powers, but in the collective strength and ingenuity of our own people. We are a continent rich in resources, young in population, and full of untapped potential. What we lack is not the resources or the will to succeed. It is the infrastructure, the financial systems, and the political will to unlock our potential. We can no longer rely on foreign aid or investment that comes with strings attached. We must establish new financial systems that prioritize African needs and empower our economies. That is why initiatives like Ibrahim Traoré's cross-border payment system, which aims to bypass outdated and expensive global financial systems like SWIFT, are so crucial. By developing a new infrastructure for payments, trade, and investment within Africa, we can eliminate many of the barriers that have historically held us back. We will ensure that our trade is done in African currencies, reducing reliance on foreign currencies and giving us more control over our economies. Moreover, I am committed to fostering regional integration and cooperation, especially through frameworks like the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA. The AfCFTA is a groundbreaking initiative that will unlock new economic opportunities by reducing trade barriers and promoting intra-Africa trade. By ensuring that African businesses can freely trade across borders, we will create an integrated market of over 1.2 billion people, one of the largest in the world. This will not only strengthen our economies, but also create a powerful bloc that can negotiate on equal terms with other regions, including the US, China, and the European Union. Africa's future is not about waiting for external powers to dictate our terms. It is about standing up for ourselves and taking charge of our destiny. By focusing on infrastructure, digital transformation, education, and sustainable development, we can build a continent that thrives on its own terms. The US may be pulling away from Africa, but Africa is not pulling away from the world. We are stepping into the future with boldness and vision, ready to form partnerships that respect our sovereignty and reflect our shared goals. The era of dependency is over, Africa's time has come, and it is time for us to lead. As Africa's future, I will work tirelessly to ensure that we build a continent that is not just an economic power, but a center of innovation, leadership, and progress for the world. Together, we will build an Africa that is respected, powerful, and capable of achieving its full potential. Thank you.